In 2 Timothy chapter 1, the Apostle Paul is writing to Timothy, who is pastoring a church at Ephesus. And Paul considered Timothy to be a son in the faith. And he's just writing him back. And some things are going on in the church that he's addressing. But in this particular part of the letter, he tells Timothy to stir up the gift of God that's within him. He says, you started in faith, and that faith was rooted in the faith of your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice. They passed the truth down to you, and so you believed on the Lord Jesus Christ. But now, it's like Paul is saying there's a sort of progression in the Christian faith. He says it begins with sincere faith, of course, but it doesn't end there. Faith is like a spark, and there's a gift that God has placed in you that's like a fire. God has given every one of us a gift to use for His glory. And what He gives, He expects us to steward. Paul reminded Timothy to fan into flame the gift of God within him, to let it grow, to work to grow it, because fire doesn't stay alive by accident. What you neglect will slowly fade, and it'll eventually die out. And here's the challenge. When you neglect your gift, you don't just quiet your calling. You begin to live disconnected from the Spirit who empowers it. God has not given you a spirit of fear that shrinks back or loses control when things go wrong. He's given you His Spirit, power to act, love to serve, and a sound mind to stand steady. Paul references this to Timothy right after he tells him to stir that up, because I think almost there is a fear that can keep us from stirring that, from growing in our gifting and stewarding it in a way that honors God, because it may offend other people. If you're called to be a light in this world, and we all are, you cannot live like an ember or like a spark. Stir that flame, fan it. Use the gift God's given you. Live in the Spirit's power, His love and clarity, and burn brightly for His glory.